I'm very happy to be here with you, Regina. Thank you.
Of course. So my first question was, I know that you grew up in Mexico and you moved to Toronto in 2003. When did you learn English? Was it over here? Was it in over there?
I had the opportunity to learn English at school in Mexico. I went to a school that taught English from an early age. I started learning it in grade 4, and then I fell in love with the language and just continued honing my skills. And but I always was a voracious reader in English, so I was reading in English and in Spanish, and so when I came here, I was already quite fluent, not as fluent in my use of the language as I am now, but language was certainly not a barrier for me, so I was very lucky that way.
How did you get into the field of translation? What introduced you to it?
Well, I've always been very curious about translations, and because of my speaking in English, and also as I grew up, I learned German and French. I always preferred to read everything in the original. That was part of the idea of learning all these languages. But then some books and some materials were hard to address and attack and understand fully. So I always have loved to have like side by side reading, so to read the original and the translation so I can understand things better. So that's something I did in my youth a lot. And then when I was in my bachelor's at the university in Mexico, one of the assignments that we had was we had to translate a text from English into Spanish, because my bachelor's was in English literature, so I had to translate in Spanish. So doing that was so much fun, and I still remember how much I enjoyed it. So I was like, oh, I could do this. Like this is really fun, and the translation was not that bad, even though I did it by instinct, really. Not I have no knowledge on any of the things I know now. And then when I came to Canada, I saw that there was a need to understand what translation entailed, not only on my part as someone who was requiring translations, to be up to date here with paperwork and stuff, but also in the university. And I was already a grad student, and I was teaching, and I was offered to teach a course in Introduction to Translation, and I accepted. And then I had to, be up to the tasks. So I started studying and learning on my own, and teaching that course at Glendon. Actually, that was the first course I ever taught at Glendon as a grad student. I fell in love with it. It was very rewarding, and so I decided I wanted to continue doing that, and I pursued then the certification. And a year or so later, I was a certified translator, and then I started working, and it has been really, a lot of fun.
In your opinion, why is translation important?
I think it's important because it breaks language barriers for people who cannot speak a language. Obviously, we think that speaking two languages is great, 3 or 4. Some people speak even 5 or 6, sometimes even more, but it's only a few. But look at all the languages we have in the world. We have hundreds of languages, living languages. We have dead languages. And all of the material that's written in those languages is out of our reach if it's not because of translators. Translators are the ones who build bridges between cultures and between epochs and between eras and continents and geography. It's really, translators are the bridge builders. And it's important to learn how to do translation well, because if you mistranslate something, you can really, create problems. We learn that in class all the time. Just taking one word out of context, translating it wrongly can lead to misunderstandings. And then when those texts are important, say the Bible, or in places, texts that are vital like that, you need to be very careful, because you need to take into consideration the time in which those texts were written, what the words meant then, the meaning changes of words as we evolve. Some words, are become out of use, and you have to be constantly updating yourself. So even though you may be bilingual or trilingual, it doesn't mean that you can be a good translator. And that's why I think it's important to learn the craft of translating and to be educated and to be very aware that it's a huge responsibility not to be taken lightly, because you don't want that bridge to collapse, and you don't want for that bridge to inadvertently become a bomb, and then you insult someone or you create a problem where no problem should be created. So I think that translation has the power of bringing people together, providing a sense of safety to those who don't understand the language and who may be immersed in a culture and a language not their own. And we as lifeguards, as safeguards, need to be well equipped to do our job correctly. So I think that's why it's important to not only take it seriously and to recognize it, but to study it and to continuously update ourselves in the new trends, the new use of language, the new tools, everything, because language is evolving, I think, quicker now than ever before.
Yeah, so, I completely agree. My next question was, it's two, but it's kind of in the same vein. I want to ask, what do you find most rewarding about translation, and what do you find most rewarding about teaching translation?
Oh, everything is rewarding. What do I find rewarding about translating? Well, to produce a new text that reflects the original, but it's entirely new, and it's built with my own words, my own language. It's like it's like building a house, you have the material there, but you're still building a new house. So it's a huge satisfaction every time I finish a translation, and it's a journey, and I enjoy the journey. I enjoy trying the words, moving sentences around, asking friends for feedback and opinions and ideas, and just going back to the draft board and trying again and again and again until I feel that it's an okay, kind of work. That's really super rewarding. And teaching translation, how can I say? Teaching in general is one of the things I like the most, and I'm so privileged to have it be my job, just to share what little I know with wonderful people such as you. And your classmates every semester, and to see you apply that knowledge and improve your work and get stronger, and then take on bigger and harder challenges later on, but having a strong basis to do it and succeed. That is priceless for me. I'm really, really, I enjoy it. I love teaching.
That's really beautiful. My final question is, in your translation career specifically, what has been your biggest challenge, and how did you go through it?
I think my biggest challenge, well, there are different challenges. The first one is that I don't have a lot of spare time to do translations, so I have to be very picky about the jobs that I accept, and it's been a while now that I only translate things that have to do with literature. And for me, really, translation is something I do for the pleasure of it and for the love of it. So I want to keep doing it like that. So that's a challenge, because sometimes it's like, oh, this could be fun, but am I really crazy about it? I don't know. And so that's one. And then the other one is when you're really super happy doing something, you always face challenges that you never imagined.
So those are all of my questions for today. Thank you so much for meeting me.
Thank you, Regina, for inviting me to do this with you, and I wish you the best in your endeavors and in your journey as a translator.
Thank you so much.